not kind, it's not forgiving, and it's not waiting on anyone to figure it out. So today we're doing what Oklahoma fans actually want, breaking down the schedule game by game. We're predicting the record honestly, and we are answering the real question nobody can dodge anymore. Is this the year Oklahoma becomes a true SEC heavyweight, or the year excuses finally run out? Let's talk about it. Good evening, and welcome back to Sooners Intel. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, along with my co-hosts, Kchris Griffin from the Horns Down podcast, and Mr. Mason, Chris Mason from Sooners 360. If you love Sooner football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button on all three channels, like all the videos, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss a moment of Sooners Intel. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here.
Let's get to it.
All right, well, let's get to it, Mr. Mason. You've been coming up with three topics for us to talk about on Sooner Intel tonight. Obviously, we will get into the schedule breakdown at the end of it, but let's go into that first topic, and you can go ahead and introduce it.
Yeah, so obviously the first topic being Jay Valai has officially left to go to the Buffalo Bills. OU has lost their cornerback coach to the NFL. I mean, the NFL's been poaching a lot of college position coaches the last week. USC lost their D-line coach. That's a big hit for them. Notre Dame lost two defensive assistants. UGA lost their outside linebacker guy, a fast rising guy on there. Big recruiter, lost that to the Dallas Cowboys. Sooners, all the big defenses seem to be being poached by the NFL right now this week. A lot of guys going, and now OU has lost Jay Valai. And I guess Jason and Chris, just kind of initially give me your thoughts on what you feel like Jay Valai was able to accomplish in 4 years in Norman.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, on the Valai thing, it's just an offer you can't turn down. It's not even because of the Josh Allen thing or any of that. I think, on one hand, like my uncle was saying, just had a newborn, going to be able to probably spend more time with his family, all the rest of that stuff. But the way I look at it is a simple fact of, those titles mean everything at that level, especially assistant, defensive coordinator, or whatever you want to call him. You can't turn something like that down because now the jobs that he does want, as far as being a DC in college football, or hell, being a head coach, that's now not necessarily as foggy as it was, with this path or whatever, which he was getting serious consideration. But now I think it just adds to that because I do think that he's going to be able to find success up there. And I think that Chris Mason, I know we talked about it last time on the Monday pod, the recruiting pods. Quick plug there. Definitely check us out on the recruiting pods every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time. But you kind of just say hats off to the guy. All our Texas brethren and Georgia brethren and everybody else told us, in Alabama or whatever, that everybody was telling us, oh, this guy, you're going to regret it. You're going to see this, you're going to see that. And I'm not going to lie. All I saw was results from the CJ Colden days all the way till now with these two freshman All-Americans that we've had back-to-back years. The development, the secondary, the way that they like to play, the type of athlete, the style of ball that he's brought here to add to this BV defense, man, you can't do anything except for just be happy and smile, because you do remember those years with Roy Manning and so on and so forth, right? It is, you really just came a long way. And so, not to slight anybody, it's just one of those things where it's just living in reality. Jay Valai has been great. Now, in my mind, is thinking fast forward. Who's the next guy? And I think there's plenty of names out there, and I'm excited about a bunch of the names that we've seen thus far kind of pop up. However, I trust BV on hires like this. I think he, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I think he will get this hire right, and I think that this will stabilize. But just things that you heard about Valai on the way out, doing some of the things he did. I mean, you just amazing, man. So again, just happy with what the product is, and as I always like to say, don't leave the place burning down, leave an impact. And I think he's left an impact, and I think you got kids there. The talent is in the room, and it's back to the standard that OU had for so many years at corner, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding, right? I think that when you look at the back-to-back freshman All-Americans with Eli Bowen and now Cortland Guillory, along with you know the development of a guy like Jacoby Johnson, I think it's clear that he has left this cornerback room in really good shape, right? He's been able to recruit some guys that we're expecting to be big time contributors moving forward. Some guy. I mean, there's been some guys that hadn't even really had a chance to get on the field just yet because of the fact that the room is full. But just like kind of the rest of this defense, you've had the ability to, you're kind of over recruiting the next guy. The guy that you have, you're kind of over recruiting that guy for the next year, and it's one of those uh, it's just kind of one of those times where now you look at this as like, okay, can we keep this momentum going with the next guy, right? I think that obviously Buffalo got him a great co DC, whatever it is that, or assistant DC, whatever the title is. And I think you're right, Kchris. I think you need those as a coach. If you want to climb the ladder and eventually become a head coach, defensive coordinator, whatever it is, you got to kind of have these positions pop up. And with a new baby on the way, I mean, yeah, man, not having to spend your entire offseason on the recruiting trail and doing some of the stuff that they have to do as college coaches these days. It's definitely a different animal when you get to the NFL. Collective bargaining has made it to where you can't be uh, working with the players at certain times of the year. There's only a certain amount of time you can spend, um, and you don't spend all that time in the building, right? So they get some time off. That's a good thing for them. In the
I,
end, go
no, go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said in the end, I just think that uh, for all you fans, I mean, I think you have to look at it as okay. It kind of sucks that he's out of here, but you have to expect that BV is going to find somebody that will work in this position because everybody else at every other coaching position on that defense is flat out dream team type caliber guys, right?
It,
Every one of them.
It is. It's actually a positive that he's leaving because that obviously means that you're doing something right, and we haven't been able to say that for a while
Yeah.
in some of these instances. But this is a guy who's done it right. So I think that it's going to be plug and play. I think it's one of those things where I think, look, I will say this for some of the OU fans, not all OU fans. I think most OU fans are understanding of what's going on. But for the OU fans of recent or the OU fans who just kind of forgot what this feeling is like, you got to go back and you got to remember at one point in time, it wasn't necessarily Georgia and Bama running the SEC and winning all these championships and all the rest of the stuff. The Big 12 was a gauntlet, it was a real thing, and things ran through whatever happened at Red River pretty much controlled what pretty much the fate damn near of college football for a while. And so the whole
Yeah.
thing is that you got to remember that feeling of this is what it's like. You lose coaches, you plug them right back in. And that's what Bama and Georgia and teams like that have just been doing. And they've been able to find guys, and those guys have had success. Hell, Valai is a product of that, right? So
Right.
I think that it's a great step in the right direction. And now I think that's what I'm eager to see from BV. Can he fill that position with the right person? And I think we should turn it back over to Chris Mason. See, do you have any notes on that or anything to add to that at this time?
No, obviously there's a lot of interesting names that have connections to Brent. There are a lot of interesting names that have kind of connections from the Clemson side There's several guys that Brent coached during his previous tenure at Oklahoma. Dom Franks and Gabe Lynn, for instance, both are guys that Brent knows, Brent coached, has personal relationships with, as well as Brandon Shelby. Then you got a couple of guys from the Clemson side of things, and then you've got some guys that are connected to some of the front office, and then you got a guy who has connections to Oklahoma, but has the state, but has never been available for OU to hire. So I think, when you're looking at the whole picture, I think you could go any number of ways. I think Xavier Brewer, you can promote internally. I think, we know that Brent's going to go through some rigor and process with this. This isn't going to be Seth Luttrell over again. Stevenson, the new AD, requires the wrong word, but they're going to make sure that Brent is interviewing three guys, right? You got to bring at least three. You're going to be interviewing three candidates, looking at resumes, and if you decide the internal guy's the best one, great. But let's just have some rigor and process about how we're doing it. But I think the most experienced guy you could hire and the most interesting name is T.J. Rushing, just because he's been at Auburn, he's been at A&M, he's from Pauls Valley, Oklahoma. I'm pretty sure he went to Stanford at a high school. He's been in the pros. He's a veteran cornerback coach who has numerous guys in the NFL, has had success at numerous stops. He did a good job with Auburn's cornerbacks last year for DJ Durkin's defense. And he's been at multiple places, like I said, in the SEC. So that would be an interesting name. I think if Brent's going to go with maybe an interesting hire, I think it's probably a veteran person like that, or I think maybe Dom Franks is maybe the way they'll go, because he's been at Tulsa, gives you another in-state guy, someone Brent really has a connection with from his time in Norman. Brent's hired outside the OU path, so let's not say that he's just, he's hiring an OU guy because he's hiring an OU guy. I mean, he's hiring somebody he might know. So I think that's the two directions I could see this kind of going in. Maybe it's not T.J. Rushing, maybe it's some name no one's mentioned, but it's going to be someone who's got like a professional cornerback, a deep professional cornerback resume on them, right? So he's going to bring somebody to develop up, or bring somebody in who's maybe only going to be in Norman for 3 years, but, is basically, there's no questions about their resume. You look at their resume and you go, okay, guys, for example, T.J. Rushing's coached cornerbacks in the SEC for like 6 years.
Yeah.
You can't really argue with that resume. In terms of that, he's had NFL stops as well. So,
I think you'd be hard pressed to argue his choice for a position on the defense. You can argue about the offensive side if you want to and what he does, but defensively, hasn't he earned that?
I think so. I mean, the Dreiling hire has been a huge win. It stopped the rotation at linebacker coach. If you look at Zach Alley and Nate Dreiling, 12, in retrospect now, it's hard to not say that's a win for the Sooners. I know, Alley's the defensive coordinator at West Virginia, but I'm just using a recruiting standpoint. Dreiling seems to be much better
on the recruiting trail. Absolutely, I think as far as like coaching is concerned and that kind of stuff, for sure. I think that he knows a good coach when he sees it, and he can. Go ahead.
I think you're right. I think on the defensive side, I mean, again, I do think one of the reasons why Valai left is that the path to being like a real DC here in Norman was blocked for the next several years. If Brent was going to give it off to anybody, it would be Brandon Hall probably. So I think Valai just recognized, and you never know, he could make his way back to Norman in 4 years, and with a different resume and a different set of skills, and Brent could plug him in a different spot. I think Valai made the right career choice to do this. And I think maybe Brent takes advantage of that, because you do have kind of you got a stacked defensive staff right now. You got Chavis and Bates over $1 million. You got Brandon Hall, who is, look at the safety room and what's gone on at safety since he
unbelievable.
And then the linebacker room, Dreiling seems to have just taken over that. And you've got Goodwin there as well. So, I think maybe cornerback is a spot where you can, okay, let's get somebody who's going to stay 4 or 5 years. We're going to develop them up, and Brent's going to mentor somebody up, and you can be like, okay. And I think that's where Gabe Lynn or Dom Franks are interesting from a certain perspective in terms of they have some experience, but this would be their first time coming into the OU defense, and obviously both kids, both guys have a good. Brent doesn't have to worry about that chemistry side. He knows those guys. They know him. They know Norman. So I think that's where I see the hire going. Either someone like T.J. Rushing or someone we're not even mentioning that Nagy puts a resume in front of Brent and Brent just interviews somebody and goes, "Wow, that's a guy I want," right? Something like that, maybe. Ray Brown from the Niners is interesting if he wants to come back to college. He's with the Niners. So I think there's a lot of things. Jimmy Satterfield's asking about Chip Viney. Chip is getting a lot of buzz about being about having done a really good job at Arizona. He doesn't have as many connections with the current OU staff, and I hope that his resume isn't tainted by his connection with the bad defenses that he wasn't coaching, he wasn't really responsible for. He was doing player personnel stuff then. And it wasn't really player personnel stuff like the stuff we see from the Nagy group right now. So Chip Viney, if you wanted to mentor somebody and bring up a up-and-comer on the West Coast who has all kinds of Cali connections, that's interesting as well. So I think, you got to weigh, there's different things to weigh, but I don't think Brent can make a bad choice. There's really good talent out there. And I think almost everybody they're looking at other than Ray Brown probably is viewing the Oklahoma job as a big upgrade in status. I mean, if you're Gabe Lennon at UCLA, OU, we'll just call it what it is. Being a DB coach for Brent Venables' top 5 defense is different than being the UCLA safety coach. It is what it is. I mean, clearly. Same for some of the other guys. I mean, but at the 49ers, that's that to move Ray Brown to come to Norman, that's an interesting conversation about where he would be with in terms of that. But I think there's a lot of good candidates, and I think we'll find out something. I think we'll find out something a little more next week because OU wants to have this person in place for a good 2 weeks. For a good 2 weeks in February to start doing phone calls, making connections with recruits, because March 7th is coming down the road, and March 7th is a massive recruiting weekend. We'll talk about that on a Sooner Intel episode closer to the date, but it's going to be a massive weekend, and you want to have your guy established for several weeks of phone calls with recruits, etc. Chris,
can I? So just one quick question. We don't need to elaborate on it, but quick question for you guys. Do you think the new DB coach will be a NFL Nagy guy, or do you think it will be a BV guy? Obviously, I think that it's going to be BV's choice, but I'm just saying, you think they may go to the NFL and find somebody, or you think that they will stick kind of to the college ranks?
I think it'll be a college guy.
Gotcha.
But I think the Nagy part is he could float a resume in front of Brent and change everything, right? Like I already talked to this guy. He wants back in college. Interview him and let me know. And then Brent's like, wow, this guy.
Well, maybe. I mean, I can see that, but to me, I'm looking at it as I don't think you mess with Brent about his defensive guys. You might, as I said, if you're going to mess with him about anything, it would be offensively speaking. I think you might say that maybe he needs a little help with that stuff. He doesn't need help with who his coaches are on the defensive side of the football. And I think if you're Jim Nagy, you stay the hell out of the way on this one.
Yeah, maybe you float a resume. Maybe you just float a resume over when if someone contacts Jim. I could see Jim just saying, "No problem. I'm going to pass your resume to Brent." Right? I'm going to pass. Depending upon who it is, right? I'm going to pass your resume over, and that happens all the time. And it's sort of a front office that we want, right? We want a front office where Nagy feels comfortable passing a resume over to Brent, something like that. So. All right. Well, are we ready for topic 2?
Sure.
All right. Before we're burying the lead here, we're going to get to the predictions at the end. So, Kchris, I need you to lead off with this since this is a legal matter, and you are our chief legal. You're the Sooner Intel legal correspondent here. First off, so the arena got past the Supreme Court. Do you think the Supreme Court ruled correctly?
You talking about the basketball arena?
Yeah, the Oklahoma Supreme Court. Do you think they ruled correctly on this?
Um,
Yeah,
I
supreme lawyer.
this is what
Come
I
on.
would say. This is what I would say. I think this is the best way to answer that. Obviously, they didn't do the right thing as a Norman resident. I don't want any tax hikes or anything like that, but it's a good decision in the simple fact that it doesn't keep the inevitable from happening. It goes ahead and allows the natural progress because this is what's going to happen. Like it's going to happen at some point. But um, I think it's a good decision because in the short term, it keeps the inevitable from happening because they're just going to try again or just going to try to expand. Literally, we just got a message here a few like last weekend or whatever. They're building another Target, another Chipotle, putting another Chick-fil-A. We're going to have three Chipotles here, three Chick-fil-A's. We're going to have two Targets, two Walmart super centers. Um, it's a step in the right direction simply because this SEC thing was real, and there's some stuff that was going on. Maybe their relationship is better, but the city and OU, right? They having to figure all this out, but there's a lot of money to be made off of this in the long run, as far as just the sales tax, all the rest of that stuff. So, not to get into all that legalese and all that crazy mumbo jumbo stuff, but it is. I think it's a good decision in the long run, simply because of what it means, and that this now Norman is already a big city, but now Norman could become a true figure in Oklahoma simply because you're gonna have an entertainment district now. Going to have more travel. They're going to bring in more entertainment, all types of stuff. It's yeah. I mean, it's good in the long run, but
I
definitely.
like the idea of that, Chris. My question is didn't was there no way that it was ever going to come to a point where we were going to have an on-campus arena? The new arena was never going to be on campus, is what I'm guessing here, because of the entertainment district, quote unquote.
They ran some proposals to sort of do some different things south of campus, Jason, and it just never could make it work logistically and get the financing and get the investors to put into it. So, I think there's a lot of folks who's like, remodel the field house to just play in front of 3,000 people and just sort of do something like that. And I don't think they couldn't really ever make that work. So, I have not been to it, but it's my understanding the Texas arena is off campus somewhat, and it has a lot of the sort of things that OU's looking for, and that model has worked well for UT. I'm not going to say I've been there, but that's my
Right now.
understanding. Yeah, that's my understanding. Is that
Well, and it's working. It's working well professionally all over the country too. I'm not saying that this isn't a smart idea.
They tried
They're
some
seeing-
stuff. They tried some stuff land wise, where Lloyd Noble is, or sort of adjacent to it, or sort of South Campus, is what I understood. And they could never get the investors to, and the investment to buy into that. That look, the demographic and the marketing people were always saying, look, if we can get people from South Oklahoma City down, that's the dollar, that's kind of the money that you're looking for, and that's what the new entertainment center has targeted.
Well, and like I said, yeah, I mean, you see it in Arlington at Live. It's right there where the baseball stadium's at. You've got Jerry World is right there across the way as well. It's pretty cool, man.
Even in the Braves were trying to stay in town for the Atlanta perspective, and everyone was like, "Oh, they're going to kind of Cobb County. That's going to be awful." And they redid it, and the battery that's around the Braves Stadium and the new Braves Stadium, that thing just works, and it's a moneymaker. I mean, and they couldn't find anywhere in the city that was willing to give them the land and the setup to really do that, and they realized that their fan base was more in sort of those northwest and also north central sort of suburbs. And then but the restaurants they have there and the whole entertainment district for the Braves Stadium is a huge hit. It works. And
it's cool. Yeah, and they're doing it everywhere. I mean, they're doing. I've seen that. That's the plan, I guess, with the Royals and the Chiefs there in Kansas City as well. Yeah. They're moving it to Missouri, obviously, which pisses a lot of people off. But the Kansas folks anyway. But they're going to have the racetrack there. They're obviously the Chiefs and of course the Royals as well, and they've been kind of in the same area as it was. But I think that when you start looking at what it does, for the city of Norman, I think it's going to help out a lot as
And,
far as like
a,
bringing people,
you
puts them on the
know,
map,
another hotel, and let's remember there'll be 5 to 6 home game dates where that entertainment district is going to be just
jamming.
for a whole 3 day weekend kind of thing, and you get another hotel. So yeah,
I'll tell you this much: when I went to Cincinnati for the Oklahoma game over there, it was an early game, so we got finished pretty early, and I kind of got separated from the people I was with. Ended up on a bus because my phone died. This is a funny story, but I just cruised on the bus to like charge the phone for a little bit. Then I got off downtown area and was waiting, and they had a soccer match going on right there. They had a baseball game getting ready to start, and there was a concert going on too. It was buzzing in downtown. I mean, just people every freaking where. And I wasn't even at the actual stadiums. I was just nearby, in that district and stuff. And it was just what a cool ass sports town Cincinnati is anyway. But I just thought I thought it was pretty badass.
I think with what they're going to be doing, you gotta have a long term vision with what happened with this whole arena thing, because here's the cool thing is that in about what 8 years, I guess now, when they build a new Thunder Arena, they're gonna have that whole district down there and stuff like
They
that.
will.
It they're gonna come up with some crazy name for it, 35 Drive or whatever the case may be. But I-35 is gonna be jumping. It's gonna be clogged because people are gonna be going back and forth simply because it's really a 20-minute drive. It's not 30 minutes. It's 20 minutes because you can fly at night. So Moore is the one who's going to be a little bit congested. But regardless, though, no, Norman and OU needs this, especially for what they want to become on the more of the external part of the SEC outlook, right? They want to be able to have that, and OKC adds to that because when you're 20 minutes away and you're really a part of the you're a suburb of the in the metro. I mean that's big
Sure.
time. So it's just was just keeping everything. I mean, excuse me. It was alleviating the need to stop anything that was obviously going to come down the line. But I will say, I think probably the best part of it is that OU gets a smaller arena for basketball, and now I think in whatever's the new direction that's going to happen, whether Moser's here or Moser's gone, whatever the case may be, when basketball gets to rocking again, then I think that campus is going to be rocking like crazy.
well,
So,
you see the mock-ups, and it's like everybody's on top of it. I mean,
uh
it's got more sort of luxury box sort of suite look. It just looks like a better environment than I mean, they've done everything they can with Lloyd Noble, but it was a multi-arena concept of the '70s, a concrete dome that folks were kind of doing back then, and its time had passed, and they were stuck on a little while. They were stuck for a while on doing a big scale renovation of it, and I
uh,
think they just finally realized it wasn't. So I'm an old school basketball guy. I think it's a shame that he doesn't already have something on campus, but in my opinion, it should be at least Wayman Tisdale Court, whatever sponsor
Hell yes. I
whatever
love that.
whatever sponsor wants to put their name on that. No, I got no issue with that. That's just the world we live in. But I think it should be whenever OU plays, it should be the logo, the name of that hardwood should be Wayman Tisdale Court.
Hey, no argument from me. I love that. Love
So,
that idea.
all right,
you
well,
know,
guys,
oh,
sorry, go
I
ahead,
was
Chris.
just going to say one last thing. We hate to give the Oklahoma State mean orange any type of kudos, but I mean that helps them out tremendously. Obviously, everything is centered around Gallery Iba and then T Boone Pickens Stadium, but it's right there on campus. When I was there, and when I wanted to go watch other teams come in and beat the hell out of them, it's just an easy walk. You leave whatever time you're leaving, you still just see masses of people just walking through campus, alumni, mostly students, obviously, but you just see people just parking wherever and literally just walking to the game. And so I think that's going to be big time whenever for like OU, especially with basketball, and especially with the girls team. Go support the girls for sure because
Well, that maybe it's Jenny B Stadium. I mean, they're not looking they're not looking
oh,
to slow down
the
anytime
Moles are
soon.
down, right?
She's killing it, man. What a job
Yeah,
she's doing.
yeah. So, and so that's all. Again, I think that's something that will only help her too, right? Once those mock-ups get and those the mock-ups get redone, or just say, yeah, like the stuff we wanted to do 3 years ago, that's what we're doing, man. Those same mock-ups, which look fantastic, and obviously, it looks good. It's just positive that we're just moving forward on it, one way or the other. And like I said, and when you're visiting Norman, if there are 4 or 5 really good restaurants there's some restaurateurs in Oklahoma City now. Oklahoma City's food scene's getting that. If you get a couple of those guys anchoring that place, which is what the Braves stadium has, it has a couple of those restaurateurs in Atlanta have anchor restaurants. That they're not chained. They're chains to Atlanta, but they're Atlanta restaurateurs who have excellent food. You got some of those guys in Oklahoma City. You get one of those guys to anchor, put a new place in that district, and that could just kick it off to another level. So I think it's good. So, are we ready to get to our somewhat controversial predictions for the Sooner season?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
Somewhat
right.
controversial, huh?
Well,
All
I
right,
don't know. I don't know if they're
let me move
controversial or
into
not.
it.
Maybe they're not controversial. So,
All right, so we'll put the schedule up and then we can just kind of run through it. I'm almost done with the graphic and I'll put it up at the very end. But
you
here's your
want us?
20
Do you want to vamp real quick on LeBron Bauer? Give you a minute.
vent on him.
Oh, no, sorry. Just talk about LeBron Bauer, the signee we got real quick.
Oh yeah, let's do that. I mean, I'm
Like,
cool with that. I
give
like
you,
him, man. We were talking about him yesterday on the show, this on the morning show, man. It was
yeah.
what a player.
So OU picked up LeBron Bauer, cornerback from Allen, Texas. He's had 50 tackles, 6 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, tackles for loss, a sack. He's really active, and then he has 10 blocked kicks. Somehow he blocked 6 punts and 4 field goals last season. That's not his career stats, so it's what he did in one season. So this guy is a special teams demon. I watched an interview with him. He's had a couple of interviews with some of our competitors. I watched one of those interviews, and he probably would have signed with Houston if he hadn't gotten the late OU offer that Stacey Ford kind of organized and got going on. I think Willie Fritz is a pretty good judge of talent and is doing a good job at Houston. So if you view Houston, you're like, Houston? Well, Houston just got a 5-star quarterback, top 5 player in the nation. Willie Fritz is a good coach, as we've seen before when he's played OU and his stint at Tulane. So I think that's a good sign. He's 6 foot, probably about 175 pounds. That's what he said in his interview. So that's why I'm going to trust him on that. He probably could play nickel cornerback. He could also probably play some small cheetah in the sort of Kendall Dolby role. He's always around the ball. He's anticipating stuff. His work on kick coverage is great. He's downing punts in the inside the 5 yard line. He's making tackles on returns. This is a kid who has a lot of anticipation skills, a lot of instincts, and at a minimum, I think we saw. Jason and I had this conversation, Kchris, that if he's a special teams demon and he blocks the occasional kick and punt for you, and he's always making tackles on coverage units, then he can do nothing but that, and it would pay off in terms of a late offer.
Yeah, no, I think your mom was telling me about what you guys were saying about him. I sit here and say, hey, why not kick the tires on somebody like that right there? I think you have 2 guys. One maybe could be an impact next season with the Dakota kid. Was it Dakota Fields?
Yep.
Yeah, Dakota Fields kid. Maybe he could see the field maybe next year or whatever the case may be. But you have 2 guys that I think it's kind of high. It's low risk, high reward if you can figure it out, right? And I think this kid right here is a developmental guy that you maybe 2 years down the road maybe next season he's an instant contributor to the special teams. We know they'll find guys, right? They want guys out there who are hungry to get on the field. But what I would say is that he's somebody that could potentially we could see down the line, be a big contributor to this team because they develop those corners and they get those corners on the field pretty early. So we shall see. But no, I was excited to see who we got, and it seems like we got as Nagy described him, a bulldog, a dog. So let's see.
Yeah, listen, that's where I'm at. I mean, I've said it a couple of times in the last 2 days. I've never even heard of somebody that's blocked I mean, you've heard a couple of times, maybe three. I've never even heard of somebody doing it like 5 times in a season at any level. We're talking about 10 in 1 year. I mean, this is a guy that, I don't care what his star ratings are. I think that we should be at the point now that we trust in this staff and who they're recruiting, and their evaluations because they've been good, pre-Nagy, post-Nagy, all the way around. I think that you look at something like that. This is a kid that can make an impact as a freshman on the special teams, and that's significant for me. So I mean, we talked a lot. Like I said, we talked about this yesterday morning. I love the pickup. I love the kid's attitude. And what the things that he was saying on like Twitter. It's like, don't worry, I'm gonna make plays. I'll be involved. I mean, anticipation like that is rare to see that, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, you watch the blocks and you're just like, it's not because, the opposing, I mentioned this on Wednesday morning with Jason, it's not because they're just, they don't know what they're doing on special teams in high school. The opponents they're playing, Allen's playing good North Metro Dallas powerhouse teams, and they rebounded this year and went to the state semifinals. They beat North Crawley to get to play Duncanville. They lost to Duncanville. Well, that's two teams that are just loaded with talent. Crawley.
Well, Duncanville was going for his third straight.
Yeah, I mean, so
state championship.
So they beat North Crawley, who's a loaded roster with college guys. So he's part of that, and when he's just. I mean, there are personal protectors around the punter, and he doesn't care. He's somehow getting to the. He's getting there, even though there's three guys there, and they're ready for him. And on the Sooner Scoop podcast, Josh was talking about him, and Josh has been following Texas high school recruiting since 03, 04, right? That's his gig. That's what he's been doing. And he's like, I've never heard of anybody with 10 kick blocks. Never.
I've never.
He's like, I've never even heard of anybody close to that number.
I've been a sports writer and covering high school and college sports for over almost 20 years total.
Yeah, I mean, you just
never heard of a thing like this.
I mean, it's
never heard of anything like that.
So if that's his bag and that's all he gives OU, and he's just menacing teams to the point where they're badly punting or they're making mistakes in their punt unit.
Sure.
Look, focus on that guy, and then all of a sudden that guy on the other side gets a block. I mean,
I would tell you that the anticipation that we're seeing with what he's doing at every position tells me that he will equate that to the defensive side of the ball also. He's long enough. It looks like his frame, you might even see him put another couple of inches on, and he's definitely gonna stack on some,
Yeah, he wants to show up at
some
Norman
weight and stuff like that.
He's talking about he wants to get to Norman about 180, 185 pounds, and and he's going to show up this fall. He's not going to enroll early, but it gives you a nice addition, and I think he could play safety, he could play nickel corner, he could be a cheetah. So there's some flexibility. You can plug him in if he's a playmaker. OU's got enough ways that they could use him in the structure of their defense without putting him in the position where he probably would be, where his skill set isn't the best. He's not. He's not Cortland Guillory. He's not Jacoby Johnson in terms of speed, athleticism. He's not that guy. But he can. OU's defense doesn't need all those guys. They can plug in players in different spots. So, All right, we ready to jump to this schedule?
Yes.
All right.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Let me go right back to it here. Okay. Scott Walker. Sorry about that, man. We just didn't get there. 2-1, 7th.
Yeah,
so
the new freshman catcher Wells hit a bomb to put OU up 2-1. So
in the 5th or 6th inning.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
end of the fifth, everyone's been talking big time about her. Kendall Wells has been, there's been a lot of hype about her, and she just nailed the crap out of the ball. So
Yeah.
we keep it.
First game of the year for the
Yep.
ladies, looking to reclaim that top spot in the country. They're number 3 coming into the season. I think that Oklahoma win. I would predict that they win the whole thing at, this year. I just think they do.
Yeah,
We'll
I
see.
hope Rocha is okay. If you haven't heard, the OU women's pitching coach Rocha has had to leave the team due to a medical issue. So I hope
Wow.
she's able to come back and be okay. So that was the only bad news today was that Patty
Yeah.
made that announcement, and she's a big part of their success, obviously. So
No doubt. No doubt.
All I gotta
That's
say is we will all be there in June. We will all be there in June. Yes.
that's right.
no doubt. No doubt. Um, all right. So obviously we got the schedule here
Yep.
for this season. Um, Look, I think it's on paper. It certainly doesn't look as daunting as what they went through this past season. Um, I think that there's a world where you can be better on offense and still lose 3 times before the second week in October is up, because of the way it sets up. I mean, you on the road at Michigan, if Whittingham is able to get his traction pretty quick, they're gonna play a tough brand of football, run the football, play good defense, that kind of stuff. It could be a tough, and it's a tough environment no matter what. So I expect, myself. I think we don't have to talk about UTEP. They're going to win the game. I expect them to win the game. I don't know how much, it would have surprised me otherwise. I would almost put it as a toss up a lot of times. You know what I mean? I think it could be, but I know that we all picked Michigan to win the game. New Mexico, all picked Oklahoma to win the game at Michigan. Um, New Mexico, I think obviously everybody's going to pick Oklahoma. They should win that game running away. It's the next one that we start on, and talk to me about that one, Kchris, the at Georgia game.
So, if I may, I just want to go back to the Michigan game. So, fellas,
Please
this
do.
is this is the interesting piece about that game. Okay, so Chris Del Conte, you're gonna have to play a night game because we know that that's going to be the night game. We are going to be the morning game, which I like that. 11 a.m. noon kickoff. Perfectly fine with that. I like that. Obviously, they're going to be rocking. They're going to be ruckus. They're used to these 11 a.m. kickoffs, but still a bit of newness to that situation there with Bryce Underwood having to now deal with another coordinator. And I'll be honest with you, there's not too much difference between the Utah offense and what Chip Lindsey was wanting to run, because I think they're going to have to do that still because there's going to be too much speed coming off that edge, coming up that
Sure.
middle, chasing him. So it will be interesting to see. We know what type of brand of football they play, but I digress. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents I'm throwing at Michigan. As far as Georgia, let's be real, guys. This is going to be a defensive battle until somebody breaks. So this is a game to where, hey, Jason will love me saying this. It's going to be on the offense. The Michigan, those 3 big games to start the year with Michigan, Georgia, and Texas. You got to sustain drives. You got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to actually go and score. We saw this team get it done at Tennessee. We saw this team go to South Carolina and look dominant. We saw this team go and get it done at Bama against those pass attacks. So I think defense travels, and I think this defense will travel. Guys, I put it on there as a loss, but I'm being honest with you. I would not be surprised if this is a game where OU goes in there and takes care of business, simply because I think that this is a game to my oldest uncle, as he would always say. He's our elder statesman. He's the coach, but he would say, "Get me to the last 2 minutes, and we'll go win this ball game." I promise you that. That's the mentality I think OU
Get it.
goes in there with, simply because I don't necessarily see them being intimidated. I don't necessarily see them going in there and it being a too much of a physical game for them. I think that Gunnar Stockton is going to take his chances, take his shots. But what I'm really interested to see is what does his receivers look like this year with him not having that safety valve in Branch, right? Branch was a different type of wide receiver because he could run routes, but his specialty was to catch it 2 yards behind the line and then take it 40 yards down the field. So what does that offense look like? Bobo is best when he has those novelty, those special players, right? Those specialty guys. Obviously, the
Yeah.
Brock Bowers, who's a tight end running jet sweeps, different things like that. But if you fall in love with that, then here goes Lad McConkey going down the field running these routes and killing everybody, looking like God, what was that? The guy that's from that's still in the league but played at Clemson. You guys know who I'm talking about, the wide receiver.
Oh,
Regardless,
yeah. I don't
yeah,
pull the name.
when you have that, he
The guy
loves.
got the one guy got the touchdown against Bama to win
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
Renfro.
yeah.
He loves those specialty, those novelty type guys, but I don't think he has that this year. So I'll be interested to see what they do. Obviously, it's going to be run first, run mentality, trying to establish that run. So do we have the depth and everything to sustain what we're trying to do on the defensive line, which I think that we do this year. I'm so excited to see what Okoye is going to be able to bring to the table with a larger role. But guys, I'm just telling you, like this is a toss up game. This is a toss up game, but you kind of lean to Georgia simply because it's Georgia. They're at home. We know this is going to be a night game. They're going to bring out the
Maybe black jerseys, the black
black
jerseys.
jersey. I mean, it's going to be the whole 9 yards. It's going to be a spectacle. If y'all thought the Tennessee stuff was crazy, watch this. But I know obviously it comes down to offense, but I just say that I think defensively we match up well against them. Defensively, they match up well against us. But I think this is going to be a game where I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think this is going to be a game the whole way through.
Yeah, I think catching Michigan early is good for OU. I mean, I definitely think the location makes this difficult. Whittingham's a good coach, but Michigan, I just think Michigan's program has taken a lot of body blows. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of change for them to absorb. New coaching staff.
Sure, and it could be a year out. I'm just saying, on the road in the big house.
No, I mean
Is the thing.
that
It's
yeah,
one of those
yeah.
games that you can't overlook that at all. And believe me, he'll have that team ready as they can possibly be for that
Yeah,
game.
I just wonder if there's it's just there's so much that they absorbed in terms of players out, players in, transition in terms of that. It's a lot. It's a lot for them to have absorbed. I think Chris is right about the UG. I mean, if you think about OU's first three games, it's like, it's three big games. It's like, okay, that's just I mean, okay, let's just fly to the big house. Let's go to between the hedges and then go back to the Texas State Fair. I mean, it's three bucket list football games basically.
Oh yeah. Oh,
If you
dude.
if
Yeah.
you if you're a
This,
random college football fan, I mean, and
sure,
you
sure.
had the money to go anywhere on that Saturday, it's ideally you'd have the sort of funds to go watch OU play Michigan, then hop on
I'm
your court
hoping to go to all three of them. I don't know that I'll make it to all three, but I'm
yeah.
trying to.
Yeah, but you'd hop on your Corp jet and then make your way to Austin for
Yeah.
Ohio State, for the Ohio State Texas to get both. So I mean, but I do think, I have OU beating Michigan again. That's more. I think Michigan will be at the end of the year. I think Michigan's going to upset. I haven't looked at their schedule, but they're going to upset one of the powers in the Big Ten, right? If
Whether it be
they
Indiana or Ohio
Ohio
State.
State or Oregon. They're going to disrupt someone's season at the end of the year. We're going to catch them not quite, hitting on all cylinders probably, and their scheme lends well to Brent walking in there with his loaded veteran defense and giving them a lot of problems. I mean,
No
there's
doubt.
schemes that worry you a lot, and it's just that scheme would worry me more of like year three when they've really kind of got it going, right? That's kind of going. It's from that perspective.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at what Georgia has been at home since Kirby took over there, I mean, the only team that's beaten them has been Bama, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they've had a Bama problem or whatever. I don't know that maybe they didn't exercise that demon in the SEC championship. That being said, uh, you know, I'm at that wait and see point of I have to see more out of Oklahoma on the offensive side running the football
Yeah.
before I believe you're going to walk into Athens, Georgia, and win that game. Now, I think the defense is going to leave you in every game. There's no game that I look at on this schedule, or you could put any team on the schedule that you want to in the country, Indiana, Ohio State, you can put whoever the hell you want. Oklahoma can be in any game against anybody because that defense is going to be that good. I would say that, look, they were a road warrior team. All their true road games last year, they won them. They and we're talking at Tennessee, at Alabama, two of the hardest places to play in the country. And they were able to go find a way to win it. Look, a lot of the same leadership is still with this program. If they can take on that and continue to have that kind of mentality that they're going to win on the road, that's what they do. Awesome. That being said, I got to see you do that
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Georgia in order for me to pick you a win there, right?
That's
Yeah,
real.
I think you're completely right. I have it predicted as a loss, but I think I think OU takes it to the fourth quarter, and it's a class. It's a dog fight. It's a bad use of a term there. It's a fight to the fourth quarter, and we'll see. Gunnar Stockton is going to be back. He was pretty. I think he outplayed expectations last year. I think that's a
Yeah, I think he's a good player, man. I think
I
he's a
think
really good
that's a
player.
fair comment. They lost some personnel and lost some guys to the draft. They've always going to have a good roster. They
Yeah.
added some pieces in the
They were
portal.
a young roster too, though. You got to
Yeah,
remember they were a young roster,
they
so
were.
they almost overachieved. It felt like.
They did. They lost a couple of pieces to the NFL. I think they thought they were going to get back on defense, which I think has hurt them a little bit. And obviously, they didn't pick up anybody like the Branch kid in the portal. They didn't pick up an addition like that. So, as you say about the OU offense, you kind of believe Georgia will have a homegrown elite wide receiver when we see it, right? That's been. I mean, OU's have problems. Not to throw stones at UGA, but I'm here in. I live in Atlanta, and UGA for the life of them can't turn around an elite receiver and homegrown elite receiver. It's just not happened.
Well,
Right.
and I'll say this so we can move on, but it's kind of one of those things where we give Dabo a lot of flack. We gave Saban a little bit of flack, even though his was more proven. But they have a specific offense they want to run, and you come there as the OC, but you run that system, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's kind of where I'm at with Kirby. I think that Kirby has had opportunities to have special offenses. Obviously, you could say he did, kind of a little bit with Flack and
Their
with not
last
Flack, but Brent,
championship
and
year.
then what would the other kid that was there they won national championships with, because that kid he turned into a pretty good player. But I mean, Brock Bowers is just transcendent, right? Generational. But he's
Yeah.
had quarterbacks there that you beg to figure out. You beg to ask the question of what the hell was up with Rashada last year, where he couldn't, or year prior, whenever, why couldn't he play, right? You ask the question about Fields and stuff like that. So I think it's more of a Kirby thing than it is anything else, because they go out there and they get some of the fastest wide receivers in the nation, but they can't catch for shit. And then also you kind of factor in the fact that, a lot of players do get in trouble there at Georgia for whatever reason. But I mean, it's just a combination of things that happen. But I would kind of point the finger at our friend Kirby down there, simply because I think there's a certain offense he wants to run. And to be honest with you, it's kind of hard to argue against it, right? It's really
I
just
mean,
defense.
he's
Huh?
look at the number of playoff appearances. He's two national championships,
What
another
do I
couple of
know?
times in the championship game. I mean, it's hard to argue it. But that being said, obviously this past year, when their defense did have a bit of a breakdown with Trinidad Chambliss, a quarterback that can move and make plays out of the pocket, things like that, did hurt him. That's what hurt him. And once it got into a shootout, they didn't have the ball last, and so do I think that they would have given? I well, you know what? I don't know that they would have given Miami a better game because honestly, Ole Miss ran out of time in that game too. So, in the end, I think defensively speaking, they probably would have had a better chance at shutting down what they were doing at Indiana than what Ole Miss would have had, and probably even Miami as well. But that being said, I don't know. It just kind of is what it is. But um, yeah, we can move on. I also have Texas as a loss. You guys know why. I don't have to explain it. It's because they haven't scored a touchdown in 3 of the last 4 there, and 2 in a row. And until they win, I'm not picking them. That's it. You guys both have them as wins. I get it. It's just hard to pick, and I hate doing it. It makes me puke in my own mouth a little bit when I do it. But
No,
it is what it is.
I completely agree with your rationale and foundation. But let's so my bias here, which you guys don't agree with, and that's fine because different opinions of what makes this show is. I you guys don't agree with this. I really think the Muschamp thing is going to backfire on Texas. I don't think he's got it as an elite DC. We'll see it in the Ohio State game, and we'll see it in Dallas. That he's not that whole transition, that dumping the blame on him, not.
I think it was a bad move on the part of I don't know. I think Sark made him an error getting rid of the guy that basically carried your ass the last couple of years. But I think that I still believe that he upgraded the position.
And that's where we disagree. But in my view, they made a mistake with that. They're going to take a step back on defense, and that's why I have them. That's why I have OU winning that game. It's the continuity OU brings defensively, whereas Texas, new DC, Muschamp. Like I said, I don't think he's got his DC fastball. The people at UGA I know said that he wasn't really a big part of what they were doing. That was Schumann and Smart, and that basically it was a pity hire because Muschamp needed a job, and Smart took care of his buddy from their time with their previous relationship. And when he walked away last year, UGA didn't miss him at all, and he wasn't a big part of what they were doing. So I think I could be completely wrong on that, but that's why I have Texas. I have OU beating Texas because I think the DC thing, the transition, and the Texas changing what they're doing there, and Katowski. I was just impressed what Katowski did on defense there. I think that scheme was a tough scheme to go against. They proved it on the field, and changing that up. Plus, some of the guys, the veterans they've lost with. They lost Muhammad, the cornerback, right? He went pro, and they lost Taffy, and they lost the linebacker. They've lost some pieces
Anthony
there.
Hill.
Anthony Hill. They've lost some pieces there.
They did go make some big additions, but
they did. They got the Pittsburgh linebacker, but we'll see. We'll see how. I mean, we feel good about Cole Sullivan because he's playing next to Kip Lewis.
Me
right?
too.
If he wasn't, if it was Cole Sullivan as our elite guy, and nobody else experienced around him or stars around him, we might be a little more weaker on our linebacker group. So they got the Pittsburgh linebacker. I'm sure he'll be good, but I don't know that the guys around him are elite. Obviously, they got Colin Simmons back, so good for them. But I think the DC change is going to blow up on Sark. And I could be wrong on that, but that's why I have OU flipping the tail in Dallas.
Hell, I hope you're right. I hope I'm completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Here's what I'll say. I get where you're coming from. Get where you're coming from, Chris Mason. Just go do it, man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, 2 of those 3 games you were talking about, Jason. I mean, there was a certain I forgot. I almost called him Blake Bell, but old boy was the quarterback that game, and that was bad.
Hey, I watched Blake Bell beat Notre Dame. Let's not scar the.
Yeah, I mean, you
easy on Blake, man.
Trail is calling plays, and at first you're kind of like, okay, but you're kind of like, hey, you got to let Hawkins air it out if you're gonna just keep him in there. You got to at least have some threat. You're not throwing it down the field, and then obviously the injury or whatever. So if it's a fifth, we all be drunk. So you got to go do it. We've seen them do it. We've seen them be competitive. Last year was competitive until it kind of wasn't. But
last year they were dominating the defensive side of the ball.
Huh?
Last year they were dominating on the defensive side for a long
Yeah,
time,
you just
and
couldn't.
sooner or later you just break a little bit when you
Yeah, you
can't get
break. Yeah,
anything
no, I
going.
mean that's the whole thing. Just gotta go do it. But I'm gonna stick with a win. You know, I'd say it all the time. I can't pick Texas. Fuck Texas. But excuse my language. But let's keep moving. Let's keep it moving, man.
Yeah,
All right. So I
I'll
mean,
say it with you. Fuck Texas. Yeah.
all right. So I think we all agree that Will Stein's going to get Kentucky going, but going to Norman year one's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games that you better not overlook, but because I think he'll have some wrinkles there. I think Kenny Minchie, he can throw it, but he's also a good runner. So I think those are always those kind of quarterbacks that concern you a little bit because they can beat you multiple ways. You definitely cannot look past these guys.
Yeah.
You
And
can't
then
do it.
at MSU, we'll be seeing a lot of familiar faces with the
Yeah, it's Norman South.
the bull the bull Sooners, the Sooner Dogs, whatever we're calling
Yeah,
them.
And
yeah.
BV loves that offense. He loves going against that offense. I
Yeah,
think that's going to be an interesting part. The Kamario Taylor,
kids
uh,
got a lot of work.
Stud.
tough kid, is gonna take his shots or whatnot. I think it's just assignment sound football. Going back to the Kentucky game, I'll say that's what both of those games come down to me as. Will Stein is notorious for the short passing game. It's damn near a West Coast offense almost. It's get the ball out of your hands, get short, this and that, work the field, take your shots when you can. But
Sure.
um, for me, I would just say that I think they're still probably a year or so away. But it is a game where they can come and sneak in here and make it competitive.
One
But
of the things
it's
that I
the
would also
SEC,
say, let me
huh?
just say this part. I would just add this part. One thing we see sometimes after Red River, win or lose, is hangovers.
Yeah,
So that's
It
another
said
thing that you
Norman.
got.
It said Norman, which I like though. Like it could be
That's true.
if it was in Kentucky and you were sleepwalking, I'd be a little bit more. But yeah, you
I
have a
get it.
good point. You have a good point there. MSU again, South Carolina. A lot of people are predicting South Carolina for like a bounce back season. Obviously, they need one considering what they did last year. And I mean, if South Carolina's struggling, I mean, Beamer could be on like the red hot seat coming into Norman. Chris, do you think Sellers and Bryles is that going to work?
that's what I'm the most scared about. I mean, to me, I think it's one of those things where I'm a little bit nervous as far as I think defensively they're going to be stout, but do you have somebody to pair? Can you find another Kennard to put over there with the Stewart kid, right? Um, but when it comes down to the offense, I just don't know if trying to take a quarterback who honestly, let's be real, Sellers is really good when he's really good. He's great. But now you're
Yeah,
putting him in an offense where now it becomes a thinking game. So you're taking away the athletic, element to the game because now he's thinking a lot. Don't get me wrong, he can pull it and run, but in that very shoot, you're counting numbers, you're doing this, you're doing that. So I'm hopeful that he grasps it and does what he need to do. And we know that he can throw the deep ball like nobody else, but I don't know, man. I just think that it's I don't think it's a lot to ask him at this point, but I just think that with Kendall Browse and all the rest of that stuff, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, when it's working, it's working. I guess they could be scary if Jaden Gibson goes there and goes crazy because then he can become the number one and he could take over for Nick Harbor and put Nick Harbor on the other side, and then you're basically, you know what I'm saying,
yeah, yeah.
trying to control 6'5" on this side and 6'5" on that side, and both can blaze down the field, right? So
Well, they got Jaden Gibb. They're banking a lot. I saw some South Carolina preview, and they were talking up Jaden Gibson big time, and I was like, kid hasn't played in 2 years. That's a lot of you're talking him up for a lot for a kid that's not played for 2 years and had some off the field stuff, and I'm not I don't know the full details of that. I don't think any of us do because he obviously left town, but it's a little tricky. Chris, I know Jason's back in time for the Florida game. This is an interesting game. A lot of people, the SEC Mike on their podcast, on that SEC podcast, picked OU to lose in Gainesville. Chris. I picked OU, and I'm one of the reasons I'm kind of leaning towards OU. It's obviously the road environment is the road environment, but if you've already gone to the Big House and you've already gone to Athens, the swamp. I understand it's the swamp, but it's at some point you've been to Rocky Top, you've been to Tuscaloosa and Athens. Is the swamp really going to be some level and degree tougher than that? I don't think so.
Not when
I've
you're running a triple option. I mean, am I being mean by saying that? I mean, you're basically running an option style attack. So
Yeah, I mean that's the point that everybody's sort of picking this as targeting as an upset game, and like Jason, I hope Jason gets back because he thinks this could be a loss for the Sooners. The reason why I don't go that direction is because just as you said, Buster Faulkner's offense is tailor made to get eaten alive by Brent Venables.
yeah,
I mean the physicality they want to play with, and like you said, that option attack they want to play with. There are defensive coordinators that are gonna really struggle with that scheme year one in the SEC and not quite know what to do with it. Brent's not one of those guys. Brent's not gonna Brent. That's and the quarterback.
Which game are we talking about?
We're on the Florida game, and that's why I saw that you picked a loss. A lot of people are picking this as a targeted loss for the Sooners. SEC bike.
I just think it's going to the swamp. I don't know what's going on with my stream, but I'm having some memory issues. So, but no, I think for me it's nothing more than
The location.
really good coach, really
Yep.
good. I think that they're going to have a really good program, and I think that the biggest thing for me is that you're in the swamp, and it's a tough place to win a game. If they've had the kind of season I think they might have, it could get really hard. So. I'm not going over 9-3 anyway. So it was one of those games where I was, I'm looking at 9-3,
Sure.
and that's as easy a place to pick a loss as anywhere.
Yeah, I was just saying that if you missed it, Jason, that offensive scheme is kind of tailor made for Brent to work on it, and we are catching Florida the week after the Georgia game. That's a good time to catch them. So from that perspective, and I just think just with you, Chris. I mean, that offensive scheme. Obviously, they're going to have some big time wide receivers. They got the Wilson kids, right? Dallas Wilson and the other Wilson kid. I think his name is Wilson. So they've got some wide receivers, but I don't. And that quarterback from Tech they got, in limited time, he was a pretty good kid. They're betting a lot on him, and he hasn't played a great deal. So Jason, they played Texas and Georgia before OU. They have a bye week in between Texas and Georgia, but I can kind of see if they drop both of those games. They're at Auburn early. They have Ole Miss. Then they got Missouri and South Carolina. It's hard to imagine, Chris, that Florida's going to be undefeated when OU goes to visit them in the swamp.
Oh no, I think that. How am I forgetting everybody's name? What's the coach's name down there in Florida right now?
If I knew it, I had it right in my head before you asked me it. I'll look it up real quick.
I think that I'm not gonna
Summerall, isn't it Summerall?
Oh yeah, Summerall. I don't think that Summerall is there for a rude awakening. I think that he's gonna be hella competitive year one. But I do think there's some realities that they have to face because you're working in new quarterbacks. Most likely, you're working in a quarterback that they just got from Georgia Tech because he knows that offense. It's going to be interesting because for me, I still take issue with the whole Lagway thing. I'm not sure if it's true, but if it's true that they were challenging him on how much he loves football. I mean, hell, if it was my son or if I'm Lagway, I'm telling them I don't love football this much to go and do something that's not my game. I have to go and air the ball out and pass the ball. I'm not a triple.
Oh no! The moment they chose Faulkner, if I was Lagway, I'm like, yeah, I'm out of here, guys.
Yeah, I'm out of here because I'm just like, Haynes
not the
scheme
scheme.
that
That's
did
not
him
the
no
scheme.
justice. It did him justice in college, but it's just not going to do him any justice in the league. He may get a shot, but you
It's
know,
it's not a scheme that it's a bad fit for Lagway. It just is. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know that the Baylor thing's going to work out any better for him. But
So when it works, it works. And don't get me wrong, they can get up and down the field, but at the same
I
time,
mean,
it's
they've lost O line, tight
yeah.
ends. They lost a lot of personnel off that roster. They
The
brought in a lot. I mean, it's just like Michigan. It's a lot of pieces in and out. It's just a lot of stress on the
Chris
on.
Mason, it's one of those things with the style of ball that the SEC is. I guess my only and what I'll be intrigued to see throughout the season with Florida, just keeping up with them since they are on the schedule, is just to see with the SEC and the style of ball that a lot of SEC teams play outside of your veer and shoot warriors. Um, it could be a gift and a curse. It could gift them some games to keep everything close, but it could be one of those things where you go and play Georgia and you're down 14-0. Now what do? You kind of got to air the ball out. You can't just sit there and run that option style attack trying against
Who are you
Georgia.
talking about? Florida?
We're
Yeah.
on Florida, yeah.
Just so real quick, it's not just an option style. That guy was an air raid dude before he went to Georgia Tech. Just so we all
Well,
understand that, and
maybe
very
I'm
good
going
at
off
it.
of recency. I'm going off of what was recent and what I've seen
Just the
recently.
last
Haynes
3
King
years,
and then that
because
Philo kid. I don't see them airing the ball out like that unless you think that Wilson is going to go crazy and average 100 yards per game as a wide receiver. I mean, they've had Singleton, they've had different wide receivers. I haven't seen that in this offense.
I don't think that this offense is not going to be the same. Number one, but bringing over the coordinator that they brought over, he was a air raid dude first and foremost. Their plan, everything I know about Florida's plan is not to be Georgia Tech. It's not. I mean, whether we believe in Philo or not, I get that part. I wouldn't tell, but they are not going to be Georgia Tech on offense. That's
I'll
just
see it just like you with OU Texas. I'll see it I'll believe it when I see it, because the whole thing is that you're
okay.
not just going to change your ways, and if you're bringing your quarterback from over
He
there,
changed his ways for Georgia Tech. Okay, Chris.
I'm just saying, Jason, I'll believe it when I see it. I haven't seen Florida play one snap, and I can tell you now they're going to run that option style attack. They're bringing the
No,
Philo kid over. They're going to do all of that. If you think that they're going to sit there and go to air raid and just air it out, come on,
I
man.
didn't say it's going to be full air raid, and they've got Baugh as well. They're going to run the football. I think it's going to
Yeah,
be more of that pro style, some air raid stuff in it. But I think that this guy has shown the ability, and it's the reason why a lot of people wanted him at Oklahoma, because he can. He's been able to have a running game with a quarterback like he had in Haynes King. He the the book on him is that he fits his system like we want Arbuckle to the guys that he has. And to the coaching staff, I mean, look, Brent Keys was not going to have it any other way. That's how he wanted it. So, I would just tell you that I think, yeah, it's not going to be an option style run game. That's
you
not what
say
they're doing.
that, and then the writing is on the wall because they brought the quarterback from over there. I mean, I don't know what else
Philo
to
was the guy that
say.
could throw the
I
ball.
don't know what else
Philo
to
was the
tell you.
guy that could throw the ball, though. He was the guy
Okay,
that could throw it. He's
we'll
not.
see.
He's not a
Haynes
runner.
King can throw the ball too. We will see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's not the same thing, but okay. Okay.
We'll see. I can sit there and say the same thing about
All right.
OU. Which
I'm just saying,
we
and
can
I'm
go
not
down
even
that
saying
road.
it's a
I'm
for
just
sure
saying.
thing
I
that they
mean,
lose.
off
I'm
of
saying
recency, that's what you
my
go off.
expectation
I'm
is
going off
nine and
the same
three.
thing, Jason. You can't have
Okay,
it both
cool. I
ways.
was saying my expectation is 9-3. The biggest reason for me is because they're going to the swamp. They're playing John Summerall. I mean, he's also not a guy that, I mean, if we're going to talk about this option thing, which is crazy talk to me, but if we're going to have that conversation, he hasn't done that shit either. So I don't exactly see that being a thing.
Did you?
But
I'm going to ask this because I will profess to no visibility. But what did he do with the BYU guy at Tulane last year?
they were still running Craddock's offense. They were still running that. They still threw the ball quite a bit. They ran the football, but there wasn't any option involved in it.
Okay,
It
I was
was
just wondering. So
more
you think it'll be more similar to Tulane's scheme?
yes.
You think Faulkner calling something more similar to what Tulane did?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Tulane, but I think the reason that he likes Buster Faulkner is because Faulkner has shown an ability to do different things. He's not married to anything like some people we know.
Okay.
That's the thing. So I don't know. In the end, I didn't really pick them thinking they're going to have the best offense in the world. I know they got their best player coming back on offense in Ball. They've got their best edge guy coming back, and I think that they've added some dudes, and I think that it's going to be a different kind of situation. One thing is with Florida, they didn't really have a problem recruiting. They had dudes. It was game time, game day, play calling and some of that other stuff. Some days they're up, some days they're trash. But and I just think Billy didn't do a very good job as a game day coach, and so I think a lot more of John Summerall than I think of Billy Napier.
Okay.
That's just my feelings on it. Again, I got 9-3 for Oklahoma. That's a loss that I could see them having as one of the third losses. I could see Michigan being it instead of that. I could see Texas A&M being that third loss, which you're the only one that picked them to beat Oklahoma, and that's a home game there.
I was just being kind. I was just trying to keep because I heard your voice. I was like, Jason's gonna annoy the shit out of me saying you picking 11-1. So I just
You guys, the 11-1 shit gets on my nerves. I'll say that.
Okay, all right. So I mean, one thing I will give you about the swamp though, Jason, is that if OU's already gone to the big house and they've already gone to the hedges, is the swamp really going to throw them off?
Hey, listen, if they've won those games, I'd say no.
Okay, all right, okay.
My whole thing is that's 9 games. That's 9 games into the season. We got to see where Florida is at first as well.
Sure.
Because
we're all giving our best guess here.
Yeah,
so
again, I'm not. This isn't a end all be all prediction.
You're not going to FanDuel and dropping your house payment on this.
No. And I mean, again, look. My biggest thing with Oklahoma, and I'll be honest with you, whenever I did mine, and you guys didn't go along with it, but there's some toss-up games, and I think there's 4 toss-up games for the season. I think that there's 2 definite losses in my mind and 4 toss-up games. I really am more along the lines of inclined to say this is an 8-4 football team at Oklahoma. And why? Because I don't believe that they're going to change the scheme to enough heavy run game for
Jason,
them to do what needs to happen.
Let's just keep moving on.
No, I'm not going to keep moving. You want to talk about it? I'm going to talk about it.
All right, okay.
Let's just get through these.
All right, so we're past the UF game. Ole Miss, like I said, with Chambliss, although the NCAA does seem to be showing a small degree of backbone in legal cases right now. They're at least taking the Bama basketball nonsense to the they look like they're going to take that the distance. So, but we'll say that Ole Miss and Mr. Tonsillitis is eligible. Ole Miss comes to Norman.
There's another. Yeah, that's a toss-up game.
That's a toss-up game in my opinion because Ole Miss has gone through so much change. You don't know what's going on with that roster. You don't know. Golding did a good job in the playoffs, but a new season, a whole new season to run a program is very different, right? The interim coach thing we've seen before, that works. But then once you're running things all the time, you're the guy, you're the dude, it doesn't work right. I mean, Larry Coker at Miami, was gifted a national championship roster, and then things fell apart a year or 2 later. I'm not saying that Golding's Larry Coker, but that's just an example of a guy promoted, left the whole package, and then a little bit later, it all sort of fell apart, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think this is the game you have for OU to if you're making a playoff run, OU's got to beat Ole Miss at home. I'll just say that the road schedule at Florida, at Michigan, the Texas neutral site game, and the Georgia game, you've got to hold serve at home this year, and you've got to take care of Ole Miss at home. I'll say this.
Absolutely.
I
don't think you can lose a home game if you want to go to.
If you want to get, where do you want to go? A&M's interesting. So I guess part of the problem I have with that is, A&M used to, Bob basically made A&M his whipping boy in Norman. I mean,
he did.
There was a stretch where I think OU's margin of victory in Norman over A&M was something like 35 points.
Oh, bro, he beat the shit out of them almost every time.
I mean, it was beyond 77-0. I mean, it was our first year, the first year with Heupel and Leach was throwing everything at A&M, and they looked like they had no idea what the spread was in a passing game was, and so there's been a couple of games like that in Norman. I just don't know where A&M is after watching them lose to Texas and watching them lose to Miami. They lost their entire offensive line basically to graduation or early entry. They tried to replace it all with second team pieces from teams around the SEC. And that O line was the big reason they were successful. That veteran offensive line, I think,
Sure.
hit a lot of mistakes. I just don't. I think A&M's in for a.
Oh, Chris Mason, what helped Texas A&M out last year? They didn't have OU and a lot of the other teams. Top
Well,
Their
we-
schedule was
Yeah.
camisky in the SEC, man.
They're
Missouri
big.
was pretty much like they're like
No
one-
Georgia, no Alabama,
Yeah.
no OU,
They're supposed to be LSU and Texas are supposed to be their big games, and LSU
no
just
Tennessee even. Yeah,
fell apart. So their schedule's more difficult. And I just think and they didn't have to play the SEC championship game. They somehow avoided that and getting exposed by Georgia in that. I think they would have been exposed by Georgia if they played Georgia there.
They didn't play Ole Miss. They didn't play Ole Miss. They didn't play Tennessee. They didn't play Oklahoma. They didn't play Alabama. And they didn't play Georgia.
Yeah, somehow they avoided all that.
They struggled last year when teams really said, "Okay, let's all calm down and let's do these two things. If we do these two things, we give ourselves a chance to be successful against them defensively." Confuse the hell out of him on the back end. Change the picture up.
Yeah.
Second off, this is really simple. Get Concepcion down on the first hit. Stop hitting him and then letting him just bounce off of you and go for 60 yards. They took away a lot of those chunk plays that they picked up on a short passing game. This is Colin Klein's offense that we were talking about, people. It's not like he's just, let's just air it out. No, he wants to motion out.
Well, he's gone.
Yeah, I already know. I'm leading to a point, Chris.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But he's a guy where you're just sitting there and you're just saying like, hey, he wants to lull you to sleep, get you on some easy stuff, lull you to sleep. Then he wants to hit you with a couple of bums. But I told my aunt, I said, hey, I have reservations about Chambliss and Marcel Reed, but more so Marcel Reed because I don't think that outside of the short game, I don't think that he could throw it down the field consistently at a high chip. And I think that he gets confused a lot still on the back end with his reads. And so
the dude's a liability. I think he's a liability.
That's what Texas did. If he, and if you are playing assignment sound football, as Texas did, I mean, you kind of stop his whole running threat, right? So to the point, though, is now I don't necessarily know with the offensive coordinators. That's where I would go back to the Ole Miss game if I could throw in my 2 cents on that. Charlie Weiss is a really good coordinator, but here's my issue with them is that offensively, the one thing that they lose the most, whether they have Chambliss or if they don't have Chambliss, is those crazy psycho adjustments that Kiffin would make in game. That's not necessarily there anymore. So does that come back to bite them or not? That could be something that you're looking at. That's an underlying thing that nobody's going to talk about until they lose a game or two and people are trying to figure out what's going on. And it could be the simple, crazy psycho adjustments that he would make. But at the same time, you got to look at Texas A&M the same way. Defense is going to be stout. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to do all the rest of that stuff. We know what we're going to get from them on that. But offensively, with Colin Klein, calling it safe tends to help those pure runner quarterbacks as you would have with an Adrian Martinez going back to those K-State days and before he went to Texas A&M. So the Skylar Thompson kid as well. I mean, he obviously that kid could pass, but he was running as well until he hurt himself. But again,
forgot about Skylar.
Yeah. But you didn't think I was going to say that name. But anyways, when you get that type of mind or whatnot, that's what I'm trying to say is that what does the marriage look like now with him and his OC, and that's what I'm really worried about.
Good question.
Yeah.
Well, they promoted internally, right? The Holman Wiggins kid, who hasn't been an OC. I mean, I don't think he's been a big time OC before. that matchup against Brent, that's a little tough. But my main point is, I think you have Bob Stoops, roll out the game ball, and A&M all of a sudden just gets reminded of the fact you're road killing Norman. So we'll see what happens, but
My thing, yeah, and my thing about A&M, I'm kind of with you on that. I'm not a Marcel guy after what I saw this past season. To me, first off, as I said, they didn't play any of the good teams except for Texas in the SEC.
and that was a bad game. That was a badly executed game by
Not
A&M.
only that, they were losing 30-3 at halftime against a terrible South Carolina team, and obviously found a way to come back and win 31-30. Marcel had 3 interceptions in the first half of that game.
Yeah,
I do not believe in this football team. I like Mike Elko overall. I think offensively speaking, they're going to be challenged.
all right.
I
So
think
the
they're going to be challenged.
OU goes on the road at Mizzou. We all have this as a win. I'm an Austin Simmons doubter, but I'm more doubting Mizzou's defensive losses. That they lost the linebacker, the middle linebacker Trotter. They lost Damon Wilson. The other end went pro. That they've lost a lot on defense.
Did Trotter go pro?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's gone. So,
rightfully so.
the playmakers that really impressed me on their defense last year, they're all gone, basically.
But even that though, you've got a new coordinator. I mean, I know it was always Drink's way of kind of doing things, but you got to have a whole new coordinator. I don't know what I think about that offense anyway. I think that Austin Simmons could come in and be really good when you've got a running back like they have.
Oh yeah,
And we'll kind of wait and see how it turns out. But I still think offensively they're challenged. I think there's some issues there, and I'm not sure that I trust that they got better. Not
Here,
a whole lot better anyway.
here's the issue with Austin Simmons is I
We don't
think
know, right?
well, no. I think I do have an idea of what's going to be the issue with Austin Simmons, which is does he get too trigger happy when he does have the opportunity to pass the ball? Because I think that's the balance that you're going to have to find with him, which is, hey, we're a run first team. We have 2 backs that we believe in. One that I think didn't Hardy lead the nation in rushing last year, or
He did. He
yeah,
did.
top running back coming back in the nation.
Stud, man.
Obviously, that you're going to be on a lot of Dope Walker lists, everybody's list for a lot of different awards,
Mhm.
rightfully so. When you get the ball in your hand and it's time to go pass, we need you not to put it in harm's way. So that's the interesting thing. If somebody comes in there like an OU or a Georgia or somebody like that and is able to stop him from having, a big game and it's coming down to you on those 3rd and 12s, different things like that, do you force it or do you live to play another day? I think that's, it's a common theme. It's not necessarily rocket science, but I think that's kind of where you have to have your concern with Austin Simmons is that okay, when he is getting the motor running, when Hardy is out there running his ass off and he has 120 yards in the first half and the
Can you
second half,
manage the rest of it? Yeah.
yeah, when it's 17-14 and late in the third, and you need a big first down on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, are you just checking it down and picking up the first down, or are you throwing it into harm's way? I mean, that's kind of the question you still have about Austin Simmons, and it could hurt them throughout the season next year.
I feel like he would have calmed down at some point under Lane. They ended up with he got hurt and Trinidad Chambliss was fantastic. I think that we saw what he looked like against Georgia. They hadn't seen him, so they didn't have a book on him at all.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people were judging what they looked like in the Cal game. I get that. They damn near lost it. Or was it Washington State, wasn't it? Wasn't it Washington State that almost beat them early in the year? Ole Miss?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It was. Yeah, I mean, and Missouri last year. I mean, they didn't beat a team with a winning record, right?
I was talking about Ole Miss, but yeah, I mean, but yeah,
Yeah, some of the
Mizzou
Mizzou's.
wise, I'm talking about Austin Simmons, but
Yeah,
Mizzou
yeah.
wise, yeah. I don't listen. We've talked about Mizzou a lot on my channel and this one. I'm not a believer in Drink anyway. I think that a lot of what we saw out of him the last couple of years was predicated on the fact that they beat Tennessee. They and they were able to have one of the easy schedules, A&M type of schedule in the SEC once they got away from the divisions. I think that's the long and short of it with me. Other than that, and even last year they still had that schedule and they went 8-4, and kind of got lucky to do that. So I'm not a big believer in Eli Drinkwitz. I know everybody's loving on him and stuff like that, but now that they've kind of backed off a little bit, it seems like, on their spending, I'm wondering how he holds the ship together there, because it's still Missouri, folks.
He should have got out of Dodge quickly. I think
He should have taken one of them damn jobs, bro. He should have taken one of them jobs.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap up here, so basically, I'm over optimistically, and I'm the recruiting guy, so that's my bias.
Here, let me bring that up. Hold on.
So
Go ahead.
I'm optimistically. I'm at 11-1 basically because I've stated my reasons why I think OU can beat Texas, and we'll see if that's a stupid prediction or I'm Nostradamus about that. And then the rest of the games, OU's playing basically 3 new coaching staffs, sort of, and they are in Kentucky and Florida. Ole Miss is sort of a new coaching staff. It's a little bit of a hybrid there. So I'm at 11-1, but really it's probably 10-2. I'm just having a hard time figuring out the second loss. Do I see a second loss probably happening due to the grind of the season? Yes, but again, I'm not sold on Ole Miss. I'm not sold on Mizzou. UF, I don't know what. I'll have to see that offense and see what they're doing and see their quarterback's a question mark. Because Georgia Tech wasn't.
So he hadn't played.
And Georgia Tech didn't seem very concerned that he left, according to Tech folks I talked to. So it's hard finding that second loss if you don't choose Texas, right? I mean, I think the obvious 2 losses on the schedule, if you want to just go, would be Georgia and Texas back to back, which is a little of what Jason's doing. Chris, you seem to be in that same boat. 10-2 seems like the landing spot. You're choosing A&M as the loss because I think you just kind of don't know where to pick the loss.
I don't really know where to pick that other loss. And
Jason, if they take care of business against Texas, right?
It could be a handful of teams on here, but it's just kind of hard to pick, especially some of those games at home. That's the thing. And I think Mississippi State will be interesting for like the first 5-10 minutes or so, maybe the first quarter, but I do think you'll jump.
Well, if they jump on
you, I think Camargo's a good player. He's a good player. He could like put you in danger in certain ways, but he could also, as a first year starter, could also get them in trouble.
Yeah. Seeing Brent
not being able to recognize some of the things they're going to throw at him.
Seeing ghosts out there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think another thing for me, guys, is just a simple fact that, man, some of these games are so far away. We pick Florida and we're just like, man, 9 games into the season you're either going in there as you're ranked high.
Thinking that I'm a believer in John Sumrall, man. I just am.
I'm just gonna say it like this right here. We've had the Summerall experience. We haven't had a Summerall Florida experience. We had a Summerall experience. It was a good game. I mean, it was more Jackson than anything. That game was pretty much a wrap.
They were definitely outmanned though when they stayed in it.
Yeah. Because of Jackson.
Fair.
We was up by a few touchdowns.
No, I'm not saying that's not a fair statement.
Jackson just started throwing darts to people and said, yeah, go take this touchdown. Anyways, these games are so far in. I mean, you go into Florida week 9, and I mean, guys, that's either upset territory where they're not ranked or they're ranked pretty low, like 16, 17, and you're ranked in the top 10 or whatever, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, okay, well, it's just so hard to tell because you got to see what these teams look like throughout the season. But this is the SEC, so we shall see.
Yeah,
that's Jason, the other part of it.
Yeah, and Jason, you're at 9-3, which I think is basically, if you're losing to Texas and you're losing to Georgia, then I think I think that a stumble on the back end is entirely possible, right? That
sure, because it's the SEC.
And the back end of the schedule is really the part that's, I mean, to me, it's
certainly lighter than it was last year.
but it's a weird schedule. South Carolina, UF, Ole Miss, A&M, Mizzou, right? Like, because let's just say Chambliss loses his battle with the NCAA. They fight that all summer, and like
Sure.
August 1st, all of a sudden they say, "Sorry, you've lost." They go to a federal court, not a court in Mississippi where the judge is a freaking Mississippi donor.
Yeah, right?
I mean, come on, give me a effing break.
I'm surprised they haven't already recused that dude.
Well,
off the team.
exactly. I mean, just give me a break. So let's just say that something weird happens with Ole Miss, and then Golding, first year coach, they have a lot more struggles than you think. I know they brought back the offensive coordinator that was there before. He wasn't the
Yeah, he was
offensive
co-coordinator with Jeff
I think,
Levy.
yeah. So they brought back a guy they know, but you never. I mean, you never know quite how these. I mean, that's the continuity part that you don't know that because Lane basically had the offense on autopilot, right?
What they did do at Ole Miss was they brought in a guy that had 1,800 yards at the FCS level as a running back to go with Kawan Lacey.
Yeah,
I like Deuce Knight a lot, though. I think that Deuce Knight is also,
there's a lot of
hey,
talent
listen,
there.
he's going to be a first-year guy, but he's a lot of talent, big arm talent.
Yeah.
He seems to have a lot of swag. I mean, look, I think that Ole Miss, I kind of look at them like I look at Oklahoma. They could win 10 games. They might go 7-5.
Yeah, this schedule's but it's just the back end of the OU schedule is like you said. We don't know. I mean, Chris is right. UF, that's so late in their season. If they upset Georgia and Texas, and we walk in there and they're like 8-1 or some nonsense like that, then the swamp will be. I've watched several games in the swamp with various UF coaches. When it's humming, it's humming. But when they're not doing so well, it kind of loses its luster a little bit.
Quiets down a bit.
Yeah, just like I watched Spurrier put 42 up on Georgia in the hedges, and he was calling bombs in the fourth quarter because that's just who Spurrier was. It was the year they had to renovate Jacksonville, so I got to watch UGA. They're like, "Oh, we finally get UF at home in Athens," and it was Ray Goff got stomped by Steve Spurrier 49-0. It was like,
Yikes.
the only
that
entertainment
backfired, huh?
yeah, the only entertainment was the drunken sorority girls getting passed around the student section, which is something that happens in Athens. But it's a weird schedule, right? Like A&M could have a reality check and come staggering into Norman, not being the team they were this year. South Carolina, Beamer could already be like on the hot seat. Like that team could have checked out by the time they get to Norman. Like he could have.
Well, and I think that, look, I like Kendall Briles. I think he's going to help them a little bit. I don't know what they did as far as offensive line guys are concerned.
That's
and
the problem.
The only thing that I would say is that Beamer does well in even year seasons, badly in odd year seasons.
He's
We'll
the
see.
Star Trek. He's the Star Trek movie coach.
It's kind of weird, right? Yeah, and I think maybe they're a little bit better. I don't think, and Lenore Sellers is fantastic. So I'm not going to badmouth Lenore's. I think they could be it's definitely another one of those games you want to be careful about. You don't want to overlook them. I think that the best chances for losses would obviously be Ole Miss, Florida, maybe Kentucky because of the hangover. Probably not. But like I said, maybe A&M, Mizzou. But in the end, I still just don't think.
It's the front load that worries you.
Yeah. Listen, I think that's the biggest part. But my biggest thing with this football team is, are you going to run the ball? Are you going to run the ball and not just run the ball with running backs, because running them with just material will get him hurt again. And you don't have the same kind of backup situation that you had last year, and that's not a good thing. I mean, it just concerns me a little bit on that side of it, and I need to see him adjust, and I just haven't seen it yet. So
improve.
Yeah, get better, man. Get better. And so if they do, I think that, again, I'll say this one more time. The defense, I think, is championship level. You can go win the whole damn thing if you play pretty good offense. Just be consistent and competent and have a dedication to the run game, a commitment. And I think that the sky's the limit. I also think that you can screw this up. And that's why I think this is that year for me. It's a prove it year for at this point. There's no more rebuild time. You've already had all the time you need if you're Brent. Now you need to show that you can do something other than be a good defensive guy.
You solidified the program. You stopped the slide. You rallied. It's time to now start putting up 11, 10-win seasons every year and being a threat to go to Atlanta and making the playoff runs.
Yeah, man.
That's
how I feel.
That's where we should be. So it's weird. It's funny because this is supposed to be the easier schedule, and there are still potholes left and right. So it's the Michigan game is last year we said we had to win the Michigan game, right? It was like a desperation kind of win, right?
I think for the season to get off on the right track, absolutely.
It wasn't, and you rallied there. I think it's the same thing. If you can't take care of Michigan in the big house, you have a problem with UGA and Texas coming up back-to-back weeks.
Oh, yeah.
With a bye week in between.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. No doubt about it.
All right, we will come back to this again post-spring ball. And we're allegedly getting a spring game. So that hasn't been announced yet, but everyone's saying that we're going to get a spring game. So we'll have a spring football game to watch. So we'll see.
That's cool.
I'll get the tickets.
So we will have a report on that. So that'll give us a sense. Maybe we'll get some sense of the running game and how things are looking a little bit there. We'll see. But we'll come back to this again. Guys, do you have any closing comments? We'll be back next week with some different things to talk about.
No, I think we've kind of put it all out there, what we feel about this whole deal.
All right.
Good.
Kchris, you got any parting shots? Texas sucks. Got it. All right.
Yeah. Horns down as always. It's the Horns Down podcast. It's part of it. So yeah, and, appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure that you have hit the like button on all 3 channels. Become a subscriber. It helps. It helps. Guys, the more you interact with this content, the better it is for us. We put in a lot of work into this content. Help us out. Make sure that you're sharing it around with everybody else. And we'll see you all on the next one.